Manuela, please.
Thank you very much. Thank you, Christina, for the invitation, and it's a pleasure to be with you tonight. I'll try to stick to the subject of cosmic anarchism by means of literary and philosophical texts, which I hope will be able to bring some elements of reflection to the symposium, even if not linked to the Slovenian history. I also have to say that this short presentation will be far from exhaustive, and at last I have no images, and I hope it will not be too boring. I'll cross the cosmic anarchist topic with a sci-fi novel and a philosophy text, the Ursula Le Guin's Dispossessed, and the McKenzie Work, Molecular Red, which is an analysis on Kim Stanley Robinson's trilogy Mars, crossed with Alexander Bogdanov's Technology and Red Star novel. Le Guin's novel, which is from 1974, presents two worlds with contrasted political systems. One is capitalist, hierarchic, patriarchal, militarist. The other was created by dissidents who left the planet for its moon 2 centuries before. They built an anarcho-syndicalist, all-sharing society with no apparent power, no army, no money, and gender balance and equity. Thus, the capitalist planet is wealthy. Even the poor are not that poor, as says at point the Terra ambassador, while the anarchist moon is a difficult land where everything costs a lot of collective work to everyone and famine occurs. In Molecular Red, from 2015, McKenzie Work explores the becoming of the world by the spectrum of Anthropocene through the ruins of two empires, the Soviet and the US. From the Soviet, she digs up Alexander Bogdanov's work, specifically his thinking about labor and nature. From the US, she explores the military complex and the space colonization through Donna Haraway's Cyborg Critic and Robinson's novels. The first brings organizing challenges, and the second proposes an utopian reconstruction of the world after the climate change, in this case, exogenous. Le Guin's main character, Shevek, decides to defect Anares, his anarchic home moon, because a jealous older physicist obstructs the visibility of his discoveries, and he wants to share it with all, not just a planet, a nation, or a few. Shevek is a gifted physicist who will invent the Ansible, a technology for faster than light and between star systems communication that appears in Le Guin's many novels and in other novels from not Le Guin, from other authors. He also has a general temporal theory developing physics and mathematics, as well as philosophy and ethics. That could lead to intergalaxy voyage. The book alternates chapters that picture life on his planet through his own experience, with his arrival and adventures on Uranus. The author claims that J. Robert Oppenheim, who was her parents' friend, is the model for Shevek. One of Robinson's first book's main character is Arkady Bogdanov. He is a fictional descendant of Alexander Bogdanov, the eminent Bolshevik theoretician, doctor, and former Lenin's friend. He is part of a 100-people crew who is to colonize and terraform Mars. The planet will evolve from red to green and then blue in the 3 books. In the first book, Arkady, who thinks that Mars should not be accountable to Earth in any way, tradition, or authority, will lead a revolution for independence against Earth troops that fails in the end. Do these fictions offer a new or different view, as Le Guin is a woman and Work is a trans woman? The Dispossessed is a kind of soft utopian novel. From the feminist point of view, the story is quite contrasted. depending on the place the main protagonist stands. First, Chevek is indeed a male, and he considers female behavior, skills, and interaction from his subjective point of view. Actually, the anarchist message is the very one which underlines every other theoretical proposition, including feminism. Though human nature and potentially harmful behavior are the same on both planets, as clear at the very beginning of the novel, the anarchists live by the book of Odo. She's a woman who, while imprisoned in Uras before the colony left the planet, wrote the political philosophy that society is based on. A decentralized civilization that is not de-urbanized, but is self-sufficient in food and water, thanks to the surrounding territories. It has transport, communication, and exchange networks, but no control center, no bureaucracy, no state. Nevertheless, this organization needs a brain. An ecologist, equalitarian, unionist society is based on computers' data. Thus, in many ways, the planet is ambiguously good. The goodness of the planet is super ambiguous. As I said before, average violence and coward human behavior is not unknown on NRS. Chevek and his teenage friends had to confront with it, but they had the background, culture to cope and transform into sharing and respect. Then, as grown-ups, they also can be confronted with it again, as does Chevek with his older colleague acting as an abusive superior. Also, it can create different levels of unhuman organization. For instance, computers decide for your newborn name, it's a 5-letter name for everyone, and Chevek and his biologist partner Takver, baby, is named Sadik. And they don't like the name at all. But no one on the planet has the same name and no one can change it. So she will be Sadik forever. This can seem a small concession for freedom and social horizontality, but then come another prerogative of the computers. Where and what kind of work is needed? They don't tell you as a person what you have to do and where to go, but someone has to go and do the job. As Chevek's situation is uncertain, it appeals its responsibility and integrity from the Odonian point of view. So the family splits for 4 years and he gives up physics for mining work. At last, all confront the fact that having a roof and food may not be enough. In chapter 3, a sentence states that Chevek is solitary because he took the risk of metaphysics. Above all, the anarchist social theory of Odo was designed on a planet that had many more resources than its moon. It's mainly an old pattern in a new world, and that's what it doesn't fit, I think. McKenzie Work book uses science fiction authors from Soviet times and nowadays USA to reflect about the Anthropocene as post-capitalist world. She is a specialist in gaming and hacking, and she tries to ground a social theory with popular culture. The title of her book, Molecular Red, refers to Félix Guattari in the difference he makes between the molar, large-scale processes, and the molecular, tiny forces efficient over time. Red is for Marxism, Bogdanov's Red Star novel, and Robinson Mars trilogy. Work is not a climate change specialist, and climate science is certainly not her topic. But as climate change defies traditional thinking, social organization, or politics, the challenge of creating a theoretical fiction about what might emerge of worlds built on a necessary new type of collective labor is not so irrelevant. On the other hand, the molecular, forgotten history, neglected concepts and minor stories, and on the other, a labor perspective on the historical tasks of our time. Alexander Bogdanov's work on labor and collectivity, fictionally implemented in his sci-fi novels, may be important for space race, as enormous resources are necessary to achieve it, and ideological mobilization provides its feasibility. His technology and prolet-cooled constructions as new practice of culture and as means to organize knowledge is not far from cybernetics or system science. The existence of humankind based on social construction is confronted with nature to evaluate what is the deep meaning of labor. In Work words, Prolet Cult was a movement with a mission to change labor by merging art and work, to change everyday life by developing the collaborating life within the city, and changing gender roles and norms, and to change affect, to create new structures of feeling, to overcome the emotional friction of organizing the labor that in turn organizes nature around its appetites. Then Work uses Kim Stanley Robinson's novel as a narrative foundation to elaborate the collaborative labor, the invention of new forms of organization, the construction of new belief necessary to transform nature. In this case, nature is Mars. She sees Mars trilogy as the invention of a grammar that might come after that of capitalist realism. The Russian-American crew is led by two space and science bureaucrats who are challenged by political idealists, Arkady Bogdanov and John Boone, who was the first man on Mars. Robinson has many utopian references as the Basque Mondragon Corporation, the socialist Yugoslavian self-management, the Red Bologna Circle, etc. And also another kind of utopia, the Antarctic Science Station, where he stayed as invited writer. There is no time here to go deep in the complex system of forming societies, but as Arkady puts it, a scientific research station is actually a little model of prehistoric utopia, carved out of the international money economy. Colonizing Mars creates a new boundary against the exploitative and militarized forms of life that send them there. The Martian revolutions are the struggle of Martian working class against corporation, private armies, self-reproducing hierarchies. In other words, colonialism versus independent existence based on new environmental reality and different expectations. Once again, an old pattern for a new world. The victory over property and patriarchy will come, but it will take generations. At the end of the first book, a male character says, "There are times that try men's souls." And his female interlocutor answers, "Women, however, do well." So lastly, I would like to focus on the biology, agriculture, and ecological system expert female character in Mars trilogy called Hiroko Ai. Maybe that's where lies the real molecular and the real anarchist revolution. Hiroko is the green figure of Mars. She is a believer of what Hildegard von Bingen called viriditas, the vital fecundity of virgin growth. She symbolizes spiritual awareness and physical health that she sees as a holy greening power, which is the driving force of the cosmos. The farm team she leads is created around the hierophany mystical idea based on love of each other and no one in particular, and love of anything living. She teaches the importance of respectful relation with the planet and environment, humans and non-humans. The mistakes made throughout the human existence on Earth serves as lessons that will help create a new enlightened society whose people are in harmony with their environment and each other. The first Martian newborns will come from in vitro procreation techniques secretly developed by Hiroko's squad. Work says she creates a cyborg matriarchal clan. As in the Dispossessed, children are raised outside a nuclear family, and there is a double economy based on gift and commodity. Get before you give before you burn, where economy is avoided. The underground enclaves are named from Terrian socio-anarchists such as Fourier, Proudhon, Bellamy, or Gramsci, and so on. The Green Libertarian Society is an utopy which is also engaged with the use of technology, as well as re-engineering nature. So does Robinson in real life, as he is at the same time an environmental activist and a defender of science, going as far as advocating geoengineering to balance climate change effects. Well, this presentation has captured only a very small part of the richness of the reflections of the books on which it is based. Sci-fi literature extends our perception of possibilities. It creates worlds that have to confront to alienity, extremes, voyages with no return, forcing us into innovative bravery. It can do it at low cost, but in priceless inventive ways. And as we know, sci-fi doesn't talk about faraway places and times, but about what's going on now and here. Thinking about terraforming Mars or any other planet is an open window to our very unique Earth Terra and on what has gone wrong. To put it in Arcady's words, we have to terraform not only Mars, but also ourselves. Then the real political model would be probably another Le Guin's novel, which is the word for world is forest. But of course, I leave this for another talk. Thank you very much.
Thank you.